Okay, we are back. So, last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, we looked at form validation, and I showed you how to use variables and if statements to validate, parts of our form. So what and the thing was we used alert boxes to convey the results of the validation, which is something you should not do. You should never ever use alert boxes in the actual design of your code. Okay, and I'm going to keep repeating this over and over and over again because it's so important. You should only use alert boxes for your own testing, and even now there are better tools. Like, remember I showed you the JavaScript console. So if you click here in Chrome and we go to tools and we click JavaScript console, this console gives us a ton of tools that allow us to debug our code. That it's much easier to use than alert boxes. So really alert boxes. There's not too much. There's not a lot of use for them really, except for just maybe like the demonstration for demonstration purposes, like I'm doing today. Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you the right way. So the actual validation, deciding if there was enough characters or whatnot, that is mostly going to be the same. And so what I want to get to now is the proper way is basically the proper way to relay the information back to the user, right? So we don't want to use alert boxes. We want to use the HTML page. We want to use the HTML elements to convey that information back to the user. Okay? So one of the things we need to do is we need to figure out how to get and set the value, this stuff here. Or how could we get the value of what's inside a paragraph? Or how can we set the value of what, change the text inside a paragraph? Or how can we get the value of the form field, or how do we set the value of a form element? Right? So before, when we looked at the example in JavaScript, when we used pure JavaScript to do form validation, remember that it looked kind of ugly. We had to use this big long statement in order to access. So right, we said, okay, I'm accessing the document, and then inside the document I want to access the forms, and then within my forms I want to access a specific one called my form, and I want a specific element called fname, and then I want a specific value, the value of that. So jQuery actually makes doing that a lot easier. So what we can do is use the selector, and then we can use either the .text or .val. So we use .text to set or get the value of a paragraph, and we use .val to get or set the value of a form field. Okay, so let's do that. Let's create yet another button. So before we get to the actual form, I'll just show you this stuff sort of in a general form, and then we can actually apply it to form validation. So again, we're going to create another button, and let's call this get text. Okay, so we're still going to be styled just like all the buttons. So see how all of our buttons, they're all of class button, which makes sense, right? Because they're all buttons. So we use the class to style, and then the ID to assign specific functionality. Okay, so we'll go back to here, and so again I want to hook into the click event for our fourth button. So we're just going to copy this, and I'm going to call it button 4. So now, if we just tried button 4, it's just going to do what button 3 does. No, wait, what did I didn't create it I didn't save. Okay, so now always remember to save. Oops, let's go back here, refresh. Okay, so get text. So that's just going to hide toggle. Okay, so what we want to actually do now is, so we'll go back to our jQuery. So instead of fading it out, let's get the text, right? Let's do this. Let's say, so all we have to say is our regular selector statement. So the $, quotes, number sign, green, and then what we want to do to it, and that is we want to get the text. So we'll just type that, and that will return the text. So again, I'm going to use an alert box, which you shouldn't do, just so we can see what's going on, so we can see what value is being accessed by doing that. Okay, so we're going to go over here, get text, and here we go. This is all the text that was in that paragraph. Okay, so we could check to make sure it's a certain value, or once we have that stored, we can store that in a variable. We can do all sorts of different things with it. So now, instead of alerting the text, let's actually change it. So let's change it to like my name, for example. Let's put my name in there. Save. Let's go back here and we'll refresh, and now let's click get text, and oh, look at that. Now all that text went away, and it's something else. It's what I programmed it to be, right? So let's make this a two-step process. So this name, that's programmed in, but let's make it so that it could be the text that's stored in here is dynamic depending on what someone enters in. So let's start with our form. Let's go back here. We'll put our form underneath our buttons. Okay, so we're creating our form here. And so we're going to create an input type. Let's pick text. Whoops. I didn't pick text. I would just type text. And we're going to give it a name. And we're going to call this, what should we call this? We'll call this, let's say, first name. Because this will make this part of our example that we're going to do, first name. Okay. And maybe we'll put a label here. So first name. Okay. And okay. So there we have our form field. Okay. So now what we can do is now let's access. So let's give. Actually, I think we need to give it an ID. So let's go back here, because I don't think we can select on a name. So we're going to give it the same ID as the name, okay? Because what we want to do now, so when we're going to go back to our JavaScript. So now when we click on the button, instead of setting it to equal Carmen Brange, what we want to do is first we'll create a variable called first name. Okay, so the regular JavaScript still applies. We can still use JavaScript. So and what are we going to make first name equal? So we'll say var first name equals, and then we'll use some jQuery. So we'll use our jQuery operator, the $, and then we're going to select on ID, and we called it first name, right? Let's just double check. Oh, first name, no capital. Good thing I checked. Okay. And we also need the number or the # because it's an ID, and then we're going to get the value by saying .val. Okay, and now what we're going to do is, instead of setting it to be Carmen Brange, we're going to say, and actually let's just make this consistent here. So first name, I just changed it to be all lowercase. So now let's paste that in here. So what should happen now is it should get whatever value is in the field. So if I do it 0, it's just going to make it go away. So now let me put this in, and now it's stuck, whatever value is in here, it's going to stick into here, right? So I could put my name. Okay? So see how, so I've clicked this. So what we've done here is we've hooked into the button for click event, right? So we're saying, when I click on something with the ID button, I want you to get something, the value of a form element called first name, store that in a variable called first name, and then we're taking that variable and storing whatever the value of that is in the text of a paragraph called green, right? With an ID of green. And that's exactly what's happening. So we're going here. We can click this button, and it disappears because there's nothing in the text box. But now if we put lots of text in there, there we go. We could copy this in there, and now it's back in there. Okay, so now you can start to see how using jQuery, it's really easy to get and set the value of our elements. So now, we don't really need to use those silly alert boxes anymore to look at the value of data and stuff. We can place it in the elements, the HTML elements, and that's exactly what we should be doing, not using alert boxes. So what we want to do now is we're going to do the same form validation. But instead of using alert boxes, we're going to use what we've now learned in jQuery to make a real form, a form that's actually working, right? So, or that works in the way, our other form was working, but this is how we should really do it, okay? So it's going, we still have to, let's create the rest of our form. So we will, let's create a few fields here. We'll just copy and paste. So we'll, first name, last name, last name, email, and password, and repeat password. I think that's something we may have forgotten in the last example. And that should be okay for now. So then we have to change this stuff in here. Okay. First name, last name, email, okay, password, password 2, password 2. Okay, so and then let's also create input type submit. So we'll use the actual submit button. Well, actually we could create our own button, but let's try it with the actual submit. We'll do that and see how if that works for us. So, and I think it was it value? Value, I think. Submit. Let's try that. Okay, and actually let's, what do we want to do? Probably paragraphs. Let's make each one of these paragraphs. Just so we can get some space between them. And then we'll, for one of these two. And then we'll close it off. Okay, so I'm creating paragraphs around all the form fields so that it just looks a little better. So that it's not like this. Oops, where's my example? Okay, so now our form looks a little better. Okay, one of the things we have to do is tell the form what function to run when you submit it. So what we're going to do, which we did last week, last week. So this isn't too new. So in our form, we're going to give it we're going to give it an on submit. Okay, we're going to return validate form. So this should be similar to, or this is identical to what we did last week. And we're going to put the method to equal post. Okay, so now if we go over here into our jQuery, we're going to, so we don't have to put this function in the ready function. Well, should we put it in the ready function? Yeah, I suppose we should, because we're going to be assigning handlers, and we can't assign handlers to something that doesn't exist. So yes, actually we should put it in the ready function. So what we want to do is no, I think what I just said is incorrect. We don't have to put it in the ready function because the assignment is made here in HTML, not in jQuery. So sorry, I retract that. We don't have to put it in jQuery. Okay, so we're gonna create a function called validate form. Okay, and then we're going to create two curly braces like so. Okay, and this is pretty much like what we did last week, right? So this should seem at least somewhat familiar to you. Hopefully, it's part of your one of your assignments as well. Okay, so what do we want to do? So we want to the first thing, when you submit a form, the passwords have to match. I'm not sure if we looked at this in the example last week. We looked at email, checking email and stuff, right? So, but an easy one would be the password. So let's create a var called password. And again, you don't have to do this step, but I usually like putting my data into a password because, yes, it's a slightly more code, but it just makes it a little more readable. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the password from our password field, right? And those were called password. Maybe we'll call it password 1 and password 2, just to make that a little more consistent. So I'll now call this password 1. And then, so using jQuery, how do we select that? So of course we use the $sign. That's our shortcut for jQuery. Then we use 2 brackets, and then we use quote, and we're going to put in, what was it, password 1 with a number sign because it's an ID. And then, of course, because it's a form field, we use the .val to get the value. So I mean, isn't that so much easier than doing this, right? This is just so overly complex, and compared to this is just, to me, it's much more clear exactly what we're doing here, right? As opposed to this. I mean, in one sense, we're here. Where is it? What the heck? Oh. We use the dot notation, and then we use this sort of array notation, and then a dot notation again, and it's just, to me, that's overly complex. And the way they have it in jQuery it's so much nicer. Okay, so we have var password 1, and let's also do var password 2. Okay, and we'll just copy this because of course we just have to change that 1 to a 2. Okay, and now again, just for our purposes, just to be really quick, I'm going to put password 1 in here just to make sure that it's doing what we think it's doing. Okay, so I'm going to submit this undefined. So that's probably because I don't have anything in there. Oh, undefined. Let's see, what did I do here? Password 1 equals I didn't save the index. Okay, because I changed that. I didn't save. Okay, always remember to save. So let's check it out here. Refresh, continue, submit. So it's nothing, it's blank, and there's ASDF. Oops, and I also did a boo-boo, which was, let's go back here and change this from text to password, because we shouldn't have our passwords being shown, obviously, right? Okay, there we go. So now if we submit, now we can see the value, okay? And so that's a good thing. So we'll go back here. So now what we can do, now we're going to use an if statement, okay, which we've been learning about. So we're going to create some white space here. So now I'll say if password 1 does not equal, remember that was one of the operators, comparison operators I showed you. So exclamation mark equals means not equal. So equals means equal, and exclamation mark equals means not equal. So we'll say password 2, okay, and then we'll use the brace. And just for one more, just because we're not going to use alerts anymore and I might miss them, so let's use it one more time. So let's just make sure that it's working, the logic is working correctly. So ASDF, okay, good. 1, 2, test. Okay, excellent. So the logic is working. So let's get rid of this silly alert box, and let's actually put the message in the actual form. So here's what we'll do. let's because and a good place for the message, where would a good place is right underneath or right beside the form. So let's do that. Let's create let's go back here, and what we're going to do is we're going to use a new tag called a span tag, and that's like a div tag, but it doesn't have a new line at the end. So what we're going to do, we're going to give this an ID, and we'll call this password message. Okay, and for now, we're just going to leave it blank, because when the form first loads, we don't want anything here, right? We don't want a message. But what we want to do is when we click submit, and the passwords is wrong, we want to inject some code, some text in there for the message. So how do we do that? We go here. So we already have our logic worked out. So if we put the value of password 1 in here, the value of password 2 in here, if they're not equal, well, what do we want to say? We want to give a message that the passwords don't work or don't match. Okay, so we're going to use jQuery to do that. So we're going to say $, which is our jQuery shortcut, bracket, bracket, quote, quote. And what did we want to access? Let's go back here. We want to access password message. So let's go over here. And because it's an HTML element, we're going to use text. And here we can put the text right here. We could say, sorry, your passwords do not match. Okay. My intonation was a little off there. I meant to end it. Do not match. Okay, let's try that. Let's try it. Okay, 1, 2. Oops. Did I refresh? 1, 2. No. Okay, what's going on here? Password message. Let's try this first. Okay, that's fine. Huh. Okay, what didn't I do here? Password message. Password message. Oh, I forgot the number sign. Okay, see, I don't have you guys here when I'm doing these recordings to help me when I forget things. Okay. So now 1, 2. Oh, so what we have to do, because it's still submitted. So remember, in order to prevent the form from submitting, we have to return false, right? So hopefully you did that in your assignment. Okay, so now 1, 2. There we go. Now our message is right there, right? So okay, here, let's do another thing. Let's do something rather than, because we talked about design last week, and one of the principles that Nielsen said, if you look back to I'll post those notes up on, or you could look at the video. I'm uploading the video right now. One of the design principles was feedback. You want feedback as soon as possible, right? So why wait for the user to submit the button? Let's feedback right away, right? So let's look at another event type that we haven't used yet. So let's look at so we can hook into keyboard events. So rather than wait for the button press, let's tell the user as soon as they start typing. Let's tell them that something's incorrect. Okay, and then we can even what we'll do is we'll use Font Awesome. We'll install Font Awesome, and we'll get a little bit of graphics going too. We'll make this form really usable, right? Because that's what this is all about. Is imagine filling out a whole form, all these things you're filling out. You click submit, the whole thing refreshes, and it says, "Oh, you forgot something," and it's hard to tell what, so you have to go back and look through, and it can be a nightmare. And that's a big part of web, if you're running a website, people often drop off when they're faced with difficult to fill out forms. If you're trying to get them to buy something or participate in your web page, if your forms are not usable, people aren't going to use them. Okay, so we have to make them as user friendly as possible. So let's go to our jQuery file. Actually, back to our HTML. So what we want to do, we want to take our ID, our password 1, and we're going to use the let's see, should we use the key press? So there's a couple of events. There are so let's take a look at this this page from W3 Schools. Okay, so these are some of the events that we can hook into. So for example, the click, we've already seen that one. There's double click, mouse enter, mouse leave. So mouse enter, so let's say this box here was our div tag. So mouse enter is when the mouse goes in, mouse leave is when the mouse goes out. We also have key press, key down, key up, right? So let's use the key up event. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, put that over here. So let's go back to our jQuery. So this one we have to put in the ready function because the association is being made in our JavaScript. So we're going to use our jQuery $ bracket bracket quote 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 quote, then no, not key up yet, sorry, we want, what was it, number sign password 1, and then we want to, so actually we'll copy, let's copy this because this is an event handler code, so we'll paste that there. We'll get rid of this. So instead of click, we don't want click, we want key up. Okay, so every time when you press a key down and then release it, then this event will fire. So what we want to do, we're going to copy and paste from here because this is essentially what we want to do. So we want to get the password. We want this, everything in here except the return false. So I'm going to paste this here, get rid of the false, okay, and then what we'll do is if they don't equal, we're going to display this message. But if they do equal, we're going to put a check mark. Okay, so what we'll use the else, because if they're not equal, they have to be equal. So we could say if else if they equal, but that's just a little more extra work. So here's what we'll do. We'll just for now, whoops, we'll do this, and then for now we'll just put matched. Well, and then we'll install Font Awesome in a minute. So let's save that and see if our logic is working. Oh, I forgot a 1 there. Okay, good. Okay, so now let's go back and let's try it. Okay, see how I keyed up? And because there's nothing here, obviously it can't equal. So I'm going to type 1, 2 here, and here I'm going to type 2. There we go. Now it's matched, right? And now if I type 1 more, oops, sorry, your passwords do not match. So see how it tells you right away, right? And maybe this might be a little too early. You know what? Let's do it. Let's switch it down to the repeat password. I think that probably makes a little more sense. So let's go back here and let's move the message from beside password 1. We're going to move it to beside password 2. And then we'll change the the key up handler to password, instead of password 1, it's going to be password 2. Okay, so now when we go back here, so we'll type 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, matched. We're good to go. Okay, so let's, I think we've looked at Font Awesome a little bit before, but let's, I'll bring it up again so we can, Font Awesome. So the reason you should use Font Awesome is a font of icons, and you should use fonts because they're lightweight. The bandwidth is significantly smaller than if you used, let's say, a small JPEG or something like that. So it'll make your web page load much faster. So what we want to do is we want to download Font Awesome. Let's look at how we, or no, I think we can, there's a font, no, actually let's not use the CDN because we've gotten out of that habit now. So let's actually install it locally. So I've downloaded it, then I'm extracting the folder, and what do we have to do here to install? Do we just reference the... Let's see here. We'll go to getting started. Oh, see, it says it recommends using the CDN. Okay, it says copy the entire font directory. Let's just use the CDN. It'll just be easier. But then, see, Dreamweaver might crash again. Let's save. We'll see if Dreamweaver can handle this one. Okay, let's try it. Is that gonna crash on me? No. Okay. So let's load this one. Okay. So now what we want to do, so we've loaded font awesome, and let's go back to the page and let's look at the icons. Let's find a check mark. Check mark, check mark. Let's just search for check. Check. Ah, here we go. Okay, we have this one. We have a lot of them. This one, this one. Why not? Simple. Okay, so this is what we put in. Okay, in order to insert that little check. So let's see if this. We may have to do something different, but we might be able to just stick that in. Actually, I don't think this is the best way to do it. Because what we're actually doing here is inserting we're inserting a new HTML element. So we could technically, if we put the string in that is formed, you know, the properly formed definition for the element, it would probably work, but it's not really. Yeah, what you should do is use yeah, we're going to use a function. Instead of inserting text, what we're going to do is we're going to use the function append. So we're going to say dot append okay, and then inside we're going to put our HTML element. And because we have quotes inside a quote, we have to say slash quote. And so what that means, so this becomes a special character now, and our so we can have, see, there's a quote inside a quote. So usually the string would end here, but we want the quote to actually be part of the string, so we have to put slash quote in order to make that work. Okay, let's see if this works. One, two. Oh, okay. So my append function is not working. Maybe. Well, let's just try the text one. Let's see. Okay. Let's refresh. Oh, no. See, that's not working. Oh, I know what we can do. This is what we'll do. This is a little workaround. So we're going to go back to, let's cut this here. And we will paste this here automatically. So it's going to be here by default. But what we'll do, we'll give this an ID. We'll call it, password checkmark. Okay, and we're going to hide it as soon as the page loads. So we're going to go back to our jQuery here, and we're going to go into our ready function, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hide our password check. Okay, so number end quote, and we're going to hide. Okay, so let's see that in action. Okay, so it's hidden. So now what we can do is we'll just show it. So we say, what was it, password check mark, and now we're going to say show. Okay, and the other thing we'll have to do, so it makes it slightly more complex, is we also, when they don't match, we have to hide it because otherwise, I'll show you what will happen if we don't have that, but otherwise you'll have the message plus the check mark, which will be confusing. Okay. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah. What the heck? Not working. Okay, maybe we didn't really... Oh, I didn't save it. Geez, I'm forgetting to do that a lot. Okay, let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh, still not working. Well, let me just make sure that my password... Okay. Oh. Okay, ID... Well, let's... Okay, let's unhide this for a second. Let's see if it's appearing at all. So we'll go back here. Oh, okay, maybe... Because we didn't see why I always like to test things. I forgot that one time. So I think maybe oh, okay, so I'm gonna put it, I think I put it on the inside of the span, and I think with that, okay, let's just try that. But I think we might have a problem. Oh yeah, okay, this is why. So our font awesome installation didn't work. Well, should see it now. No, still no. Okay, what happened here? Oh, do I have do I still have it hiding? No, I took the hiding away. Okay. Let's see. Why isn't this? What are we missing here? Let's go back here. Because we copied right from there. C is font awesome working. Maybe we'll just have to download it locally. HTTP font awesome. Okay. Why isn't it working? Okay, let's just try this in isolation here. Back here. This is just text though, we shouldn't need that. Check out the examples, okay. Oops, let's put this here at the top of our body where nothing else is. Ah. So, font awesome is working correctly. But how come it did not? Maybe it didn't like it when I gave it an ID. So if we put this here, that shouldn't matter. Oh, I had these still here from when it was a string. That's why. That's why. There we go. So there's our check. And you know what? Let's make it green. So let's go to our CSS, because you know a check mark should be green. Number, color, green. Okay. Back here, I saved everything, I think. Okay, so we have a green check mark. So now let's stick this into our logic. So we're going to go back into jQuery. So the first thing we want to do is at the top of our screen, we're going to hide it. Okay, so it goes away, so we don't see it. Okay, it's gone. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's a check. Oops, but our message is still there. So what we have to do is, the first thing before we show is we need to set our message to nothing. So instead of sorry, your text does not match, we would just clear that text. And then so let's also, in addition to sorry, your passwords do not match, Let's put a bit of, let's put an X in there as well. So let's go back to font awesome. Let's find an X. Let's find an X. So check, do they have this search for X? But that might be a lot. A lot of things are going to come up. Okay, let's just look for one. We could just use, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good one right there. Okay, so we'll put this, like here, we'll copy this, and we will put in our HTML, we're going to put it here just like we did with our check mark. We're going to make this a little bigger. And we're going to give it a, instead of password check mark, we're going to say password X. Okay, and password X we're going to style as red. Okay, and the first thing we also need to do is we need to hide it, right? Because we don't want it to be seen right away. Okay, let's see now. Okay, so that's empty. So now, and then what we'll do, so we'll, if the passwords do not match, we're going to give them a message. We're going to show the X. We're going to hide the check mark, and that's it. And then for the else, we're going to clear the message, show the check mark, and what are we going to do to the X? We're going to hide it. Okay, let's see if we've got our logic together here. Refresh. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Oh, where's my X? Where did my X go? Okay, what's the matter here? Password X, password X. Show. Okay. Oh, did I not save it again? Jeez Louise. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, but I didn't see the X. Well, what happened here? What happened? Class. Oh. I inserted it into the middle of the other one. Okay, so see how now I have I and then the closing I tag. And I inserted the password X in between the two. Okay. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. There's our X. Awesome. Check. There we go. And then let's put another one. Let's put another check. So we'll just copy this. Our check. Let's put it here. And then that should work the same. We don't even have to do anything because jQuery will automatically... Oops. No. What did I do now? I did not close the I tag. Okay. Let's go back here. Refresh. Okay. Still something's up here. Oh, let's... Yeah, let's put it outside the paragraph because that's... Yeah, that's what we did there. Okay. Let's try it now. What? What did I miss here? What? Because I copied and pasted. How could it? Okay, let's undo this. Undo. Okay. Well. Let's copy this. Put it here. Okay. I thought that's what I did last time. Okay, there we go. And oh, why didn't that hide? Oh, maybe it just... Okay, let's change this from ID to class now. And then we have to change our jQuery. Because things can have two different classes. That's possible. Oh, so actually... yeah, let's see if it'll work that way. And we're going to go back here, and instead of number, it's going to be dot. Check mark. Check mark. Okay. 2, 3. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Now it's not showing up. Okay, what did I do here? Oh yeah, okay, this isn't gonna work. So we have to, so you put it in the other class and separate it by, because you can't have two class attributes. That's silly. So we should have, we'll get rid of this and paste it here. Okay, so now we have multiple checks, multiple classes. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there we go. Okay, and so the check is there, but so let's go back. I think it's because, why? Oh, okay, yeah, because I do, let's put it inside the paragraph, and then it won't be on the new line. Let's put it here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so look, now it's so crystal clear exactly what's going on, right? Did we make the, is that green? It's hard to see. No, I think it's black. We have to adjust our CSS here. Yeah, we have to, yeah, this, we have to change to a dot. Okay, and let's refresh now. Okay, okay, excellent. So you can see now how we're using jQuery to make things easier than was possible with just regular JavaScript. So we're taking values out of elements, we're setting values, we're taking values out of text boxes, we're hiding and showing and fading, and it really makes things that would traditionally be really difficult to do in JavaScript. It makes it just so easy. So of course, we could beef up the logic in our JavaScript file here. Like here, this is our validate form. So obviously, we could do other things like check if the password is the right length, and check to see that it's present, and all sorts of, and then we can check that the first name is there, the last name is there, and we could make our entire form fully interactive, which is actually what I'm going to get you to do for an upcoming assignment. But I'm gonna stop there as far as demos go. I think I took you through all the major aspects of jQuery. So if you have any questions about jQuery, please send me an email, or you could save them for next Thursday when we're meeting in person again. And of course, you could comment on the video, or there's many ways to get in contact with me. So if you have any questions at all, please give me a question. I know we're getting pretty advanced now. Every class we're upping the difficulty level, but that's important. We're even by the time we get through this class, we'll be about halfway there. You'll need another full class of an advanced course before you could really start creating an interactive website from end to end. You'd need at least one more course, maybe even two if you really want to get into database design and whatnot. But okay, that's where I'm going to leave it today. Again, sorry the broadcast didn't work. Maybe this might even turn out to be a little more convenient for you. You got Thursday night off, and now you can sort of watch this video at your leisure. Okay, so see you guys on Thursday. Bye.